I had some thoughts about parental relationships. Let's see if we can put it together in a comprehensive manner. Um, Parents may not, or even adults, caregivers of any kind, we don't always realize how big of an impact we have on a child. Some of us understand this, some of us grok it, but many don't understand the fullness of the impact or the impression that is made on a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, 5-year-old. How one experience, one small memory can stay with someone for their entire lifetime and affect their outlook, their emotions, and their relationship to themselves. It's my belief that us as adults are 100% responsible for our relationship to ourselves and our relationship with how we perceived our parents, our primary caregivers, or our lack thereof. And we are seeking the mother and the father nurturing aspect, especially if we had the experience of feeling betrayed, abused, unseen, or simply a lack of presence or nurture. And sometimes it's natural for a child to be carrying such pain into adulthood that the projection or the blame towards the parent clouds their relationship with the parent, and it cannot be often a healthy connection until that kind of thing is addressed. My experience is that ultimately this is all about our relationship with ourselves first. We often will look at others, whether it's the relationship we are in that might be mimicking a relationship with a parental figure, and we are having the same challenges and repeating and reliving the same patterns with our partner as we did in childhood with a parent or both parents, or a sibling, or an uncle or an aunt or a grandma or whoever. Until we take full responsibility for our own parenting, for what they call reparenting, for our role in creating the reality we now are living and looking at, we will blame and project onto. And I'm not saying that we're wrong for doing this. This is just a process many of us tend to go through. We may be carrying shame, blame, pain of some kind for abuse that was received, something that was passed down, and we have a hard time seeing our parents as fully human. We have a hard time accepting the human in our parents. When we recognize that those parts of ourselves that is either angry at the mother or we have a father wound of some kind, when we recognize those parts of ourselves is that child that had needs that weren't fully met. And we seek those needs in our adulthood in others, hoping they will fulfill what we did not receive as a child. And that child is forever desiring from that place of unrequited pain. And oftentimes parents, and it's been my experience, all parents are largely doing their best. Some of us are fortunate to have some kind of relationship with our parents, however slight and light, and others cannot at all. We've had to cut ourselves off from a toxic cycle and say, this ends with me, and recreate a whole new world, rewiring our nervous systems somatically rewiring our outlook and our relationship with ourselves through maybe hours of therapy or maybe hours of self-examination, shadow work, self-realization. We might go through a religious path, we might go through a spiritual path, we might go through a modern psychological path, or we might go through a very personal, very authentic awakening experience that is completely unique to our own life. And people and certain circumstances show up to support that growth and that learning. But it all comes back to self-awareness. So much of it comes back to your relationship with you, how you show up for you, how you show up for every aspect of you. And no one can do that for you. And the other thing I want to say is stop trying to change others, especially your parents. They need to change on their own, and you can't do that work for them. If you can somehow accept where they are and let them be who they are and as they are, you don't have to like it. You don't have to love it. You can frame how you respond and relate to your parents in the healthiest manner possible. Your own experience. You get to streamline your relationship with your parents, but this requires showing up with courage to let go of old patterns, survival patterns, whether it was people pleasing, freezing, fawning, flight, running away, avoiding, whether you had whichever attachment style, anxious avoidance, dismissive avoidance, anxious attachment, or for the few who have in North America, from my observation, secure attachment. You're the lucky ones. You're the lucky ones that maybe your parents modeled that for you, or somehow you learned it early. And so as we grow in relationship, we learn this secure attachment. Some of us find others who have our same attachment style, and for a while that seems to work. Maybe we're both anxiously attached, and that seems to work until we get disappointed for some other reason, because there might be a lack of autonomy or accountability. And then the anxious avoidant might be like, yeah, you like your space, I like my space, that's good for me, right? And yeah, there are healthy versions of that, but then I don't know what the hidden aspects or the not so nice parts of that might be in a relationship. And maybe someone can take a relationship lightly and not address maybe certain aspects that need to be addressed, like commitment or loyalty, or whatever your values might be, because you are developing core values through relationships sometimes. And knowing your core values, I think, is a healthy thing. Trauma is not only one generation, one childhood. Trauma is multi-generational. So your parents may unconsciously be carrying a lot of genetic memory from generations, from multitudes, great grandmothers, grandfathers, all passing down their genetic memory wired into your very primal instincts. Your primal instincts are seeking safety, security, hearth and home, and you might be dealing with what nowadays we call psychosis, or traumas, or there's another word here I'm trying to think of. What is that word? You're basically reliving on sometimes a very subtle level, something that maybe happened to your great-grandfather or further back. You might be the chosen one, so to speak, who is processing something that your great-grandmother and the line back avoided fully and masterfully in their attachment styles and their ways of denying truth in favor of survival. And maybe they didn't have the opportunity. Maybe if your ancestors were slaves, you had to suppress so much pain in favor of just the survival of day to day, and you had to be ruthless. You had to become stoic, cold. Maybe you had a healthy tradition that taught you nurturing fatherhood and motherhood, but then some conquerors came and tore you away from your families and traumatized you and taught you something else. Maybe your ancestors were slaveholders who believed in, as some of mine may have been, or indentured servitude, and they were brainwashed with manifest destiny and other types of ideologies that allowed them to try and justify the top-down abuse and dehumanization and control of other humans and animals, and the pain of the wound of denial, of trying to maintain this mask of human superiority and rule and divine right, and the falsehoods and the burdens and the weight of carrying not only the guilt, the hidden shame, and the fear of subjugating others, but numbing oneself fully to the pain and the empathy that you are meant to feel as a human being towards those you are punishing, torturing, and subjugating. And so those of us sensitive souls who come in as cycle breakers, we come into a family line, and we may have been in that family line before and carried the pain of it. We may have been the perpetrators. We may have been the subjugators. We may have been the sufferers, and in this life we're processing the cycle, the painful cycle passed down through our genetics and our memory and our DNA by our ancestors. And here we are now reconciling between the living and going through this process of forgiving ourselves, forgiving each other, relearning how to live in open vulnerability and purity of love and unconditional love, and rediscovering our joy. And not only that, but seeing past appearances and facades and the things that once divided us, or that we observe unhealthy patterns in our parents, creating division and pain and war between cultures and traditions and religious groups, and all the division that you can imagine of every sort. And we see that continuously being played out in this world today by those who are not ready to set down the us versus them and find the commonality and accept the love and the joy, but get attached to every reason why not. They did this to me. I have way too much pain. I'm going to get them back. I'm going to destroy them because they are evil and they've done these horrible atrocities, and the cycle continues. And eventually, and it may be necessary, I'm not saying it isn't, it may be necessary for souls to experience revenge, retribution, pain, suffering, prison, exile, and all these other things on that soul level, simply to atone, perhaps. Forgive my leaning back, a little bit challenged with blood pressure. And that sounds like a very harsh assessment. So my apologies to anyone who's sensitive, who is suffering, who is going through an injustice. It's not right to be going through this injustice for you. And my heart breaks for these experiences that people in the world are having. And this is not a judgment or a desire to see others suffer. It's just a perspective, one perspective of many. It never justifies the horrible atrocities that we commit towards one another. But we have to learn. We have to learn what? Empathy, compassion, to see the other as ourselves. In biblical terms, when they talk about the sins of the fathers, or God visiting the sins of the fathers up on the children up until the 4th and 5th generations, this isn't God just purposely punishing people for no good reason, or punishing the children for the sins of their fathers. No, it is their fathers, their mothers, and their ancestors who often are the ones visiting this suffering upon their children and passing this pain down. And they aren't evil. Oftentimes it's just ignorance. It's levels of ignorance, lack of self-awareness, not knowing how to be responsible and take responsibility for pain, and this lack of self-awareness in relationship to oneself. The more aware you become of yourself, the less you are likely to inflict pain upon others, because you can see other as you. You can love other as you. You can begin to set down the stories, the concepts, the division, and the projections that you were programmed to create. And you begin to see reality for what it truly is, as it is. And you begin to grok the truth of your own being, and to have a pure relationship with that which we call God, with the divine, and with your soul. So in relation to our parents, to wrap it up, it's our responsibility to take care of our own being, to heal what's in us. I have friends who, up into their 70s and further, still suffer with the memories of the abuse, and they suffer in their relationship with others to rejection and all the other fears that they carry. But they also have often had the experience of a parent's unconditional love. They've had the experience of someone who loves their child no matter what. And a child may be angry at their parents. They may be in that stage, or they may be indifferent, or they may be unaware. Parents often sacrifice, and if we don't have the clarity of seeing, there's no ability to appreciate. And parents, when they become self-aware, must take responsibility for their own mistakes. I appreciate my parents because they have the presence of mind to apologize to us sometimes when they realize, oh, I made a mistake there. Most parents are in an experiment. It seems that here in the West, at least, maybe it's different for some intact cultures, but here in the West, I watch the same things happen over and over, every cycle, every generation. And each generation, however, I have a sibling whom I used to carry around in diapers who has 3 children of his own now. And I am so pleased to see them picking up things like co-sleeping, and nonviolent communication, and nurturing their children, protecting them from specific dangers, and at the same time, having a more conscious relationship with themselves, and their ability to hear counsel when it's needed and wise, and to reflect upon it and choose for themselves. They're going to make as many mistakes as many other parents. As much as they want to be, they're not going to be the perfect parents. I've never met a perfect parent. But it's all perfect in its imperfectness regardless, because everyone is learning what needs to be learned. We may desire so strongly for acknowledgement, to be seen, for our parents to fully understand what happened for us, why we're angry, why we feel a certain way. Our parent may wish that we could see how they cared for us and how much they love us, and they may wish they could convey something to us that we could fully grok, fully understand in our being, that there feels like a disconnect. It's like we live in separate bubbles of reality. And that's the thing, we have lenses of perception with multi-layered levels of story and emotion and conditioning to see through. So if you want to see the reality of a relationship, there's the beginning of setting down the pain that you carry, the blame, the shame, the stories, and within those things need to be acknowledged, dealt with, turned over, looked at. They're serving you. They're there to serve you, if you're willing to take full responsibility for them. If you don't, they just keep coming back up over and over and over, and you live the same cycle of trauma and drama until you face them. Many people spend their entire lives running away from themselves, and they never get to truly know themselves, and others don't truly get to know them until they are ready to sit down and face themselves in the mirror or in another's eyes. I hope this is useful, helpful. It is long. If you've borne with me for this long, then it has something meaningful for you. And just was sometimes these stream of consciousness things come through, and I want to. They need somewhere to go. So, for whoever might hear this today, blessings to you. Love yourself, and don't let it overwhelm you. Everything is a process. There's all the time in the universe, and you're exactly where you need to be.